Alright, what's going on guys, and welcome to the first of two videos reviewing the Call of Duty Vanguard beta. In part 1 here in this video, we're going to be going over everything that I believe really needs to be taking a second look at and needs to change, and just give some general, in-detail, constructive criticism back to the developers here, as well as point out some things that might be a major deal breaker for any of you watching in case you have not bought the game yet. So with that being said, let's just get into it. The first thing is probably the only thing in this video that I'll mention that probably will not change. That is the big elephant in the room, skill-based matchmaking. Unfortunately, even in the beta, skill-based matchmaking is definitely present, and I don't think we're going to get that to go away anytime soon. Activision, as we know, are a bunch of dicks. Next up, though, we have leveling up. Now, leveling up in the Call of Duty Vanguard beta is extremely slow, both the base level and leveling your guns up. In fact, I don't think I'm going to be able to reach level 30 by the time this beta ends. And as someone who plans on going for the ultimate camo, faster the leveling up process, the better. So hopefully, Sledgehammer, please increase how fast you level up in this game, just a little bit. Alright, now we're going to take a look at some weapons that definitely pose some issues here in the beta, and definitely need some changes too. So first up, if you played the beta already, or even seen anybody play it, you probably heard the MP40 is completely overpowered, and this is true. This thing not only seems to TKK every other automatic weapon in the game up close, but it also has too much range. There are times where it will outperform even the SCG at intended range for assault rifles. Now I get it, there's always going to be a best gun in each class, and clearly the MP40 is the best SMG in its class, but it needs to either have a dearth to its damage or its recoil. But in my opinion, it definitely should not be both. Continuing with weapons that I have found some issues with, let's talk about the launchers. Launchers are practically useless for taking out anything in the air, and the only thing we really had in the beta to be able to shoot down was a spy and counter spy plane.
Am I supposed to be able to hit that?
Not only are these extremely high in the air and very small targets to hit, but the launchers, even though they shoot straight, the velocity is incredibly slow and it's nearly impossible to hit anything with them.
I can't fucking see anything. What the fuck?
So please either lower how high kill streaks are up in the air so we can hit them easier, or buff the launcher's velocity so that we have easier time that way.
Yo, you guys try shooting anything down with a launcher on this fucking game? This shit is horrible. I literally shot like 40 fucking rockets and this shit don't hit
It's
nothing.
impossible to shoot shit in this game.
What the
It
fuck
makes
is
no
going
sense.
on?
I agree completely.
Combined with how long counter UAV is actually last in this game, it's just not a good thing. So please buff the launchers. Alright, so let's talk snipers now. This is probably my biggest pet peeve when it comes to Call of Duty. That is having slow snipers. Please, buff the base ADS speed for the sniper rifles such. Now, granted, when I was able to get these 3-9 rifle leveled up and I unlocked the one barrel that also ADS speed, that gave a good like 20% boost to the ADS speed, and it made it somewhat usable, but it was still a tad bit too slow in my opinion. This could easily be fixed if the other attachments actually did what they say to do. So for example, if we go to the 3-9 rifle here and go to the second stock, it says it helps with ADS speed right there at the little pros list there. But if we press RT and actually go to the stats, it doesn't actually help with ADS speed like it says it should. So assuming these attachments that don't work like they should gets fixed, then we'll probably be able to have a proper fast build for sniper rifles. But at the same time, I still feel like the base ADS speed needs a buff at least, because starting out with these things combined with, like I mentioned earlier, how slow it takes to level these guns up, it's a major turn-off and it's just not fun using the snipers starting off. Problem with making snipers slow is you're forcing anyone who wants to snipe with them to sit back in the map and or at a single vantage point the entire game just hard scoping. That kind of playstyle encourages camping, thus slowing down the game, and it also is just flat out boring to both do and to go against. So if we do get a buff to sniper ADS, good trade-off would be lower its damage slightly, not enough to where it can't one-shot, but enough where you have to be accurate with it, like the Ballista for example. Now let's talk about flinch. Alright, this one's pretty simple. Just reduce the flinch a tiny bit, not much, because the only time I really noticed it was when I was either sniping or going against somebody with the explosive round SCG. If anything, please lower the flinch the explosive round SCG causes. Not really much more to say there. Now I know one thing that you definitely notice if you played the beta or watched gameplay, and that is the audio inconsistencies. There's several things wrong with the audio, and thankfully I do believe Sledgehammer has already said that they're going to rework the audio in this game completely, but I'm still going to go into detail exactly what's wrong with the audio in this game. So first off, footsteps, honestly, in my opinion, it's fine. Alright, it could be turned up a little bit so so we can hear footsteps a little better, but please do not overtune it to where it's like Modern Warfare 2019, because that's one big reason why Modern Warfare and Warzone is so campy. That is because the footsteps are extremely loud and you basically get punished for moving around the map, or at least like quiet down friendly footsteps and then raise enemy footsteps a little bit louder. Moving on with audio, gun audio is quite awkward. It seems that gunshots closer to you are actually quieter than they are further away. This could be just simply down to people using subsonic ammo. I'm not really sure. Sound effects in general are also quieter than expected. In fact, I believe when you destroy a destructible cover, it doesn't really make any noise at all. Hopefully they fix that as well. In game chat, by default, even after I turned it down to 30, it was still louder than everything else in the game. Now, obviously, you want game chat to be a bit louder than the game itself. That way you can hear callouts and stuff, but it does not need to be as loud as it is right now. And since I just mentioned cover, another thing I want to mention is, for whatever reason, a lot of the destructible cover, once you break it down completely, the aim assist is still not there when you aim through it. I first noticed this through a window on the main floor of Hotel Royale, as well as through some destructible cover on the Eagle's Nest. So hopefully they take a look at that as well. And then moving on to one of the biggest things that can make or break a Call of Duty, and that's simply how the spawns work. 650X TDM, for example, the spawn logic is completely fine. I haven't really seen any issues with like the minimal player amount, but considering the following, it breaks completely. So on patrol mode, which is basically hard point where it moves around the map continuously, it doesn't always seem to spawn you near the objectives like you think it would when the enemy team has it, but when it does, there's been multiple times where I've both been spawn trapped there and on the team that spawn traps. And in general, the higher the pacing, the more players will be spread across the map and the crazier the spawns will actually get. I'm sure it'll be harder and harder to balance the higher the pacing goes for Sledgehammer, but I do hope they take a look at it and figure it out, and I wish them good luck with it. Now, if you combine higher pacing with the patrol mode I just mentioned, good freaking luck living more than 20 seconds. I might even have a separate video out here soon showing just how bad the spawns can get in this game. Now, the good news about this though is that spawn, as we've seen in the past, can be adjusted and will likely be adjusted over time as the game goes through. I just hope they don't take forever to do it to where the game dies off by the time they get to it imperfected, you know? So hopefully they'll be quick with that. We'll just have to see. One other thing I want to mention here before we move on to some of the minor complaints I have, counter UAVs last an eternity, it seems like. The time they're in the sky definitely needs to be reduced by at least 25%, and especially, like I said, the launchers being as crap as they are, definitely could use a nerf. Alright, so that was all the major things that would be a deal breaker for me, but I still have a few minor complaints to mention here. The first off, please turn down the brightness of the sun. With how bright the sun is, that tends to make shooting things down in the sky a lot harder. On top of that, the glare is just simply annoying when you happen to be aiming at that area. Now, for me on Xbox, I didn't turn up my brightness at all, and the sun wasn't too big of a deal, but for my PC friends, they were complaining about it the entire beta. This next one is something that is par for the course when it comes to a beta and a COD launching unfinished, honestly, and that is simply texture glitches, alright? Just in general, lighting / shadow glitches I've noticed on pretty much every map I've played. For example, on Red Star, behind the A flag in that building, the floor glitches out. Blue Bully behind B in 2 different areas. There's also some texture glitches there. Hotel Royale, there's a red wall on the main floor that also glitches out. The funniest texture glitch I've actually seen is when I shoot a dog dead, it turns into a flying spaghetti monster. I'll actually show you a clip of that as well. It's really funny. Speaking of graphics though, let's go to the graphics settings here. Alright, so weapon blur, motion blur, and depth of field should all be off by default in my opinion. With them on, it makes it hard to not only see detail of the map, but to determine what's an enemy player and what's not. The biggest one though that I feel like needs to be turned off by default is on-demand texture streaming, and the reason that is, when I first started playing the beta and this thing was on, I was lagging way too much to be able to play the game, period, because I was rubber banding every 5 to 10 seconds, no exaggeration, and I did not know that this was the cause until somebody told me. That being said, I'm sure a lot of the players didn't know at first as well, and anybody who's going to buy the game, if this stays on, they're not going to know that this is the cause of it, and they might drop the game completely. So please, not only turn this off by default, also try to optimize it better when it is on. And this last minor complaint is something I'm completely sure they're going to change, and that is simply the modern pistol from Modern Warfare being used in the default execution animation. Clearly they just copied that from Modern Warfare and they forgot to change it, so that'll probably be changed soon, but I thought I'd just mention it. Alright, so now for the third and last part of the video, I'm going to be going over some things I'm kind of neutral on, things that we'll have to wait and see how they play out. Alright, so my first concern is regarding ammo types. When I first heard that there's both instant incendiary and explosive rounds in the beta here before I got a hold of it, I was afraid they were going to be overpowered. But after getting a hold of them on a few of the weapons here, for example, the SCG explosive rounds and incendiary rounds for both the revolver shotgun and for green line rifle, they're not as powerful as I was expecting them to be, honestly. In fact, like I said earlier, the only thing the explosive rounds on the SCG really did was cause whoever you're shooting at to have a lot of flinch. As far as when I use the incendiary rounds, on the shotgun that I was using it on, the revolver shotgun, it usually takes 2 shots up close to kill, but when I put the incendiary rounds on it, it still did not do enough damage to one-shot them, because I would shoot them and the fire would do damage and it still would not one-shot them. However, when I used the incendiary rounds on the 3-line rifle, I had mixed results. On the rare occasion I did get a hit marker, sometimes the incendiary would finish them off and sometimes it wouldn't. Overall, the ammo types I did get to use were not overpowered at all in my opinion. However, all the other ones I did not get to try out might pose an issue, especially hollow point. Another thing that might pose an issue regarding the ammo types though is combinations with other attachments. For example, if we combine a barrel that ups your damage with the explosive rounds, that might pose an issue down the line, but again, we'll just have to see. One other thing that concerns me and I'm kind of indifferent on at the moment is the fact that there are whopping 10 attachment slots by default for your primary weapon. Now, while I'm all for freedom and customization in any game I play, this does pose a few concerns for me since it is a COD game. The first concern is simply weapon balancing. Who knows how many overpowered combination of attachments will be found by community, like I just mentioned with the ammo types, as well as how well the developers adjust them in response and how fast they do it as well. And my second concern is this will take away the trade-off that usually comes with having only a handful of options or attachments that we've seen in previous Call of Duties. Having said trade-off not only helps with the balance of the meta, but it also encourages players to mess around with different builds, which has always been a crucial part of the Call of Duty formula. Now, that last part, I could be wrong. Maybe having 10 attachments actually will encourage people to make more builds, since there are a lot of options, especially with how many attachments we have for each gun in this game. But again, we'll just have to see. One of the things I want to mention here is, number one, the S-Mine 44. I don't know if this was a mistake by Sledgehammer, but it is a lethal that is in the tactical section of the last one you unlock. Like I said, I don't know if that's intended or not. I thought I'd just mention it. Speaking of lethals, the grenades are, I maybe gotten like 3 kills with the grenades during the entire time I've been playing the beta. I'm not saying they need to be overly powered like they were in Call of Duty 4, but I am saying they either need a buff in damage or a buff in their radius, because they're pretty much useless. And the last thing I want to talk about is headshots. Headshots in the Call of Duty Vanguard beta are incredibly powerful compared to recent Call of Duties. Just one headshot mixed in with body shots will make your time to kill faster than most weapons that were in the Vanguard beta, as opposed to 2019, where weapons typically require 2 or more headshots to increase your time to kill. So if I felt like the time to kill in this game was extremely inconsistent, it's because of the headshot. It is a nice change of pace for Call of Duty, and it does mean you have to be more skillful to be able to hit those headshots, but at the same time, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much everything that I actually had an issue with the Call of Duty Vanguard beta and all the constructive criticism I had to give for the developers. Now I want to know in the comments section below, what was your biggest issue with the Call of Duty Vanguard beta if you did get to play it? Are you even going to get Call of Duty this game? Is any of this a deal breaker for you? Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, if you guys did enjoy the video and or agreed with anything I had to say in it, please drop a like down below. Dislike if you disliked it. I'll have part 2 out soon with everything they did right in the Call of Duty Vanguard beta. Other than that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a mental day.